Stephanie has been with Experience Scottsdale for 7 years and knows the market quite well. Stephanie, can you share with us an update on how your organization has been dealing with the recent changes in the tourism industry and how things look for the future?
Of course. Well, thank you everyone so much for having me today. And I'm just gonna share my screen. I think that's being shared right now. As Suzanne said, Experience Scottsdale is a nonprofit private company known as a destination marketing organization. And our vision is to establish the Scottsdale area as a year-round luxury travel destination. And we achieve this by promoting the Scottsdale area as a luxury destination to national and international audiences, including leisure visitors, meeting and incentive planners, travel advisors, tour operators, and the media. And we're guided by a volunteer board of directors. And I just want to give a shout out that Rebecca Grossman is on our board, as well as two of our other speakers today, Joe and Ronan. But really, before a visitor or a meetings group decides on a hotel, a restaurant, a spa, they really have to first choose to come to Scottsdale. And Experience Scottsdale helps ensure those visitors and group dollars land in our community. Right. Now, since the founding of our community, people have traveled great distances to relax and rejuvenate in Scottsdale. Tourism is the foundation of our city and the backbone of our local economy. Of course, it's bittersweet to say that right now. As we all know at this virtual summit, people aren't really traveling much these days. But because this industry has been in Scottsdale for over a century, it's seen and survived many trials and tribulations before. This is a resilient industry that has bounced back time after time. So Scottsdale's first industry still remains one of its most important industries, in normal times being a leader in jobs, tax revenue, economic impact, and most notably in its contribution to our high quality of life. You can see here the benefits our millions of visitors bring to the city each year, including a $3.1 billion economic impact. And the millions of dollars in visitor paid tax collections help fund and support important public services like police, fire, and transportation, as well as tourism-related events and capital projects. And when we have a vibrant tourism industry, we also see investment from the private sector with the addition of new resorts, new restaurants, new attractions, as well as upgrades to our current offerings. And these are all things that both our visitors and our locals enjoy. Now, the stats on these slides are from 2018, which is the most recent year we have data available. We should be getting 2019 numbers any day now, and we expect those to be a bit higher as well. Now, previously, these numbers were something to be celebrated, but now they are a benchmark. They are what we are fighting to get back to as we really look to stabilize this industry and expedite our recovery. Now, it's a fight that won't be easy, but it's absolutely essential. So you can see here the year-over-year declines we've experienced in Scottsdale year to date. It's a stark difference from 2019, which was really our best year on record for our local tourism industry. Our hotels and resorts experienced their highest occupancy rate, around 71% that year. And at the start of 2020, we were also looking to see increases. So we were expecting to see increases in occupancy rate and revenue. Obviously, that hasn't happened. I've included comparisons to Phoenix Metro and the entire US hotel industry as well. So you can see that these impacts are really being felt across the board. Tourism is an important industry to our national economy, and these declines are happening across the country. Now, industry experts don't anticipate a full recovery for the US tourism industry until 2023. That's when we'll really be able to see some of that revenue come back. But the good news is people are longing to travel. I recently heard a travel economist say that the legacy of this crisis will be gratitude. People have never valued travel more and have never longed for it more. And when they're able to travel again, they will be grateful for it in a way that they might not have been in the past. Now, all of these signs point to there being pent-up demand for travel. And already our forecast for 2021, I'll go back, indicate that we'll be able to recover some of the ground that we've lost in 2020. So before COVID-19 really changed the game, who is coming to Scottsdale? This is a snapshot of Scottsdale's average domestic overnight visitors, about 4.6 million people in 2018. We welcomed an additional 1.7 million overnight international visitors that year. Now, the average visitor coming from within the US is about 48 years old, and they stay an average of 4 nights. Now, 50% of our domestic overnight visitors are coming to Scottsdale to visit friends and family. And that's an important stat right now because many who are choosing to travel during this pandemic are doing so in order to visit their loved ones. Now at Experience Scottsdale, we really focus on our luxury visitors, those who help move the needle by filling our luxury and upper moderate hotels and resorts. These customers are just slightly older than our average visitors, And while they stay for fewer nights, they're really spending more while they're here. And another valuable stat, 53% have visited the city before. Many of our luxury visitors already show an interest in returning to Scottsdale, and industry experts indicate that travelers will be more likely to choose destinations that they're familiar with as we come out of this crisis. So based on this study of our luxury visitors, we know that they're primarily coming from Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, as well as these other cities you see marked in orange here. But for the foreseeable future, travelers will be sticking closer to home. If they're traveling, they'll be traveling by car. And if they're flying, they won't be choosing long-haul destinations. So right now, that means our most important potential visitors are in Arizona, Texas, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and California. And that's really where we're focusing our efforts for the time being. They're seeing and hearing Experience Scottsdale's advertisements. Many of them are seeing that for the first time. But we really want to help encourage people in this region to help our local economy, support our resorts, restaurants, golf courses, and attractions, all businesses that really depend on tourists for their survival. That's where we're also focusing our sales and public relations efforts, as well as when we're reaching out to travel advisors. We're really focusing on this region. Now, Canadians are among our most important international visitors, but in 2018, we also welcomed visitors from Mexico, Germany, the UK, and France. You can see here some demographics of those visitors who came to Arizona. We've been really thrilled that in recent years, Phoenix Sky Harbor, in partnership with tourism organizations like Experience Scottsdale, has been able to land new international flight service to Canada, Germany, and the UK, really helping build more of those connections between our countries. But sadly, most of those flights aren't happening right now, and our land borders remain closed. But we don't really expect international travel to fully resume until the summer of 2021. But we're ensuring that those international travelers are still dreaming of visiting Scottsdale one day. We have contract with representatives in Canada, Germany, and the UK. They are our feet on the ground, and they're still connecting with media and travel professionals in those countries to ensure that Scottsdale remains top of mind as soon as those borders reopen. Now, meetings business also plays an important role in Scottsdale's tourism industry, accounting for half of all occupancy and revenue at our hotels and resorts. Corporate meetings make up a large chunk of Experience Scottsdale's bookings as well. Now, we know that leisure travel will lead the way for our recovery, but getting meetings back into our hotels and resorts is also essential. Right now, that sector of the industry is really figuring out ways to meet safely with hybrid events and social distancing. But fortunately, many of these groups are also booking years in advance, so we're still securing some of those bookings. We've also created a new website called meetscottsdalesafe.com, as well as virtual toolkits to really help planners navigate this time. Now, the benefits of tourism really extend beyond economic impact and tax revenue. Tourism also shifts perceptions about Scottsdale for the better. Through our research, we know that people who visit Scottsdale are more likely to view the city as a good place to live, work, start a business, attend college, purchase a vacation home, and retire. And if they visited Scottsdale and seen Experience Scottsdale's advertising, that likelihood increases even more. You can see here that people who have been exposed to our advertising and have visited Scottsdale are 86% more likely to view the city as a good place to live. But right now, the most important perception we need to put out there about Scottsdale is that Scottsdale is a safe destination to visit and meet in. Over the past few months, Experience Scottsdale has really been helping educate our hospitality businesses about CDC regulations, public health guidelines, and local government ordinances. And our partners like the Saguaro and Hotel Valley Ho have really risen to the challenge, implementing new cleaning and sanitation protocols, safety measures, and more. When we're talking about Scottsdale, we're sharing about the ways in which people can travel here safely. We're talking about our casita-style resorts, our beautiful desert with its wide open spaces that allow for room to roam, and our warm weather that's perfect for alfresco dining all throughout the year. Maybe not so much in the summer, but definitely during our fall, winter, and spring. So to learn more about what's happening, and we developed that website, bescottsdalesafe.com, to really showcase some of those changes that we're seeing in our community to help people travel here. Now, if you want to learn more about what's happening in Scottsdale or what Experience Scottsdale is doing, I encourage you to follow us online. If you're a local attending this summit, I really hope you'll join us in supporting our local hospitality businesses during this uncertain time so that they'll be here for us all to enjoy when this crisis passes. And if you're one of our international attendees, I hope you keep Scottsdale in mind for the future. Scottsdale businesses are really committed to your health and safety, and we'd love to welcome you whenever the time is right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great information, and I know we're going to have some more questions for you. So we're gonna come back to you though. So don't go anywhere. And next up, we want to introduce you to Jose. Well, Joe, I believe is what you go by. Also Jose, but Joe Aturi with us, who has more than 29 years of hospitality experience, from food and beverage to revenue management, as well as sales and marketing. Prior to joining the Saguaro, he served as the opening director of sales and marketing at the W Scottsdale, as well as regional director of revenue management for Starwood for all hotels in the Southwest. Joe, can you please share your biggest COVID challenges and how you are overcoming and adapting to the changes in your market sector?
Sure. Thanks, Suzanne. My biggest challenge currently is that picture you pulled up of me. I'm not sure where you got that from, but that was from a long time ago.
We like to keep you looking young.
I appreciate that. I need it. Trust me. No, good morning, everybody. My name is Joey Turi, as Suzanne mentioned, and I am the general manager at the Saguaro Hotel in Old Town Scottsdale. And, I think our biggest challenge is really, and Stephanie mentioned this, for us personally, it's the fact that we were closed from the end of March. We just reopened October 1st. So you tend to lose a lot of momentum when you're closed, even though it's through the summer and due to COVID. But what we've lost is the group business that Stephanie was speaking to. For us, that was really kind of our bread and butter. That's what really impacts us the most. So we've had to, everyone's heard the word pivot multiple times, readjust. We've had to kind of look at how we go after business and who we look at. Year to date through September, Arizona occupancy as a whole state is down 36% in RevPAR. So that's a significant number, and a big piece of that is that group business I was talking about. So what we've seen is really good support from Southern California. People drive into Arizona. When you go through the parking lot, there's a lot of California plates, and really our locals. We have found that our local Arizona citizens are extremely supportive. I've talked to a lot of people who I asked them, what are they doing here? And they're here on leisure, on vacation, a mini vacation, but they don't have to travel anywhere. They don't have to get on a plane. They don't have to go far. And more than anything, they want to support our local Arizona tourism because they understand that, there's a lot of people who work in our hotels, in our restaurants, and it's supporting them is really, very important to them. So, we appreciate our locals, and, I would encourage everyone on this call to continue with that and kind of advocate for us in the tourism industry to get people to stay locally at hotels. We have some great resorts as well. There's some great rates available out there. It's almost like the summer mentality where we go after staycationers, but we're extending it through the end of the year and potentially even through spring, depending on what happens. But, I think the other part that's really beneficial for hotels like us and the Valley Ho is that, we have great locations. We have exterior corridors, so people don't have to feel like they're going to their room in an enclosed hallway with other people. There's a lot of wide open spaces and a lot of fresh air. So I think that's a huge benefit for us. Outdoor dining is a huge benefit for us as well that we're really focusing on and expanding our outdoor dining options here at the Saguaro as well. And weddings, weddings are still happening. People are still getting married, and we're that's a source of business that has always been good for us, and we haven't really seen that die down. So we're really happy about that as well. But safety is our number one concern. As Stephanie said, how we incorporate the activities that we offer in a safe environment, I think is the key for us, and communicating that to people is really important. So the ability to be outdoors, even on a day like today, where I think it was 45 degrees outside. It warms up throughout the day, and there's a lot of great outdoor dining options, activities. So things we can do are that kind of thing will help us. So.
Thank you so much, Joe. We definitely have some more questions for you, so don't go anywhere. We're kind of going to do the Q&A towards the end. So for all of our audience, if you have any questions for our speakers today, make sure, reminder, the Q&A is down at the bottom of your screen. Post those questions. We're going to come back to you. Thank you, Joe. Next up, we have Ronan Avaram, who is the Vice President and General Manager at the Hotel Valley Ho since 2016. He has held management positions at luxurious hotels and resorts around the U.S., including the Beverly Wilshire, Four Seasons Resort at Aviara, Four Seasons Resort Jackson Hole, Fairmont Scottsdale Princess, and Fairmont Dallas. Prior to joining Hotel Valley Ho, he served as the hotel manager for Swiss Hotel Chicago, which with nearly 20 years of hospitality management experience, Ronan has overseen everything from front office and rooms to communications and guest operations. He views himself and the entire Hotel Valley Ho team as ambassadors of love. We'll have to ask you about that, creating wonderful experiences for guests and colleagues alike. Ronan, are there any statistics about the industry that has been impacted that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think that, like Joe mentioned, and Stephanie did as well, that we went from really achieving benchmarks and increasing and raising those benchmarks from the metrics of occupancy and daily rates, and overall that transitioned to a hotel term called RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. We're just continuously on a path of seeing those numbers go up. And then this pandemic hit, and to give you an example, typically in the first quarter, you're running super high occupancy, somewhere in the 90% or more. The month of April, we ran 4% occupancy. So you went from a month, typically in March, which is completely sold out, and we basically hit a stop. Like someone pulled the emergency brake on our industry, and that was really, really hard. Unlike the Saguaro, we had an owner who decided, let's keep the doors open, and it didn't make it any easier. Joe and I communicated the whole time, during this pandemic, and we're always looking after your staff. It's like he said, even though we were open, you're still losing touch with your customers. Your customer base, who's very much has an emotional connection to your property. Like Stephanie mentioned, a lot of repeat visitors to Scottsdale and to our properties. They find a property that they like, and they stick to it. And that's 60% of our peak season business comes from those repeat customers to Scottsdale or to our resort. Our location is great, but the activities are very, very limited from a capacity perspective, looking in the rear and also looking forward for at least the next 6 months. So you think about what Q1 has to offer. You look at Barrett Jackson, an amazing event that brings lots of outside visitors, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the Arabian Horse Show, and then spring training, which just fills Joe's and mine hotels. And those things, if they're going to happen, they will be happening with very, very limited capacity. That being said, we decided to take advantage of that 4% occupancy, reducing our staff levels at one point to 80%. We're back up to about 50% of our staffing levels. But the one thing we did do was focus on first, like Joe said, safety. It was all about creating protocols that our customers would feel comfortable with, that our partners like Experience Scottsdale, who are the champions for all of us, and no matter what we do in Scottsdale, they're here to promote this destination, to get people into heads and beds, which then means someone's going to be here, experience our amazing community, and then want to go buy a home. So they're really the quarterback for ensuring that we're all successful. So we focused on safety protocols that we could all share with meeting planners, like group attendees. Focusing on the outdoor venues is a big deal. This summer, as you all know, was record temperatures, so that was very difficult. So I think we're all pleased to see kind of the temperatures that we're having now. And again, outdoor space is being utilized more at a higher demand level than ever before. If you call around right now on a Friday or Saturday night, try to get outdoor seating in a restaurant, it's very, very difficult. And that's because that's a really important part of, no matter what the temperatures, people just want to be outside. And that's, during this pandemic, that's important. So, we took advantage of a lot of the communication that was available to us through the tourism industry, through Experience Scottsdale, through the Arizona Office of Tourism, EasyLTA, and putting together all the safety protocols that are needed to operate a hotel. The staff went through at Valley Ho went through some pretty good training. We put everyone through CPR. We put everyone through a human trafficking awareness program, things that typically you wouldn't have time to do. We did a deep clean, a preventative maintenance program on every single guest room. And when you're running really, really high occupancy, it's very difficult to get into those guest rooms. We renovated our meeting space. So we had the ability to take advantage of some of the slower times. And then, like Joe said, a lot of the guests were either local or coming from a neighboring state where they could get in a car and within a few hours they could be here. A lot of people from California are coming here. I'm sure those of you in the real estate market are understanding that the demand is increased because of that. That's a great benefit because they're coming here, they're staying in our hotels, and they're going to go find a place to live that they're comfortable with. And so I think a lot of you can use the hotels as, again, an entry point into this market, and people see the value of the quality of life that we have here in Scottsdale. The pandemic's going to be around for a little while. Our industry, as Stephanie mentioned, won't recover to the levels we were at until 2023. That's fine. Again, I don't believe in just giving back the keys and saying we're going to throw our hands up in the air. You got to get creative. You got to figure out, what are you going to do? We went from first gear to fifth gear with our food and beverage programming, coming up with ways to have fun events, but just limited capacity. And we were selling them out. Continue to do that. Partnering with different group meeting planner organizations and doing virtual, whether it's kind of one-on-one interviews around property or virtual meetings to get people comfortable with that. It's just, if you don't look forward, then it's very hard to kind of turn on the all cylinders going mentality when the business levels do come back. So weddings, as Joe mentioned, people are still getting married. We're going to do record amount of weddings. They're all smaller. A lot of the business that was in 2020 got moved into 2021. So I think we're going to see the ability to really have some compression especially the second half of the year. The first 3 months, which is very, very busy. I think the weather will help still drive people into Scottsdale, into our resorts, into the homes here, and spend in our economy. It just won't be the same levels that we're used to. But that's okay, because I think that kind of level of spacing is what people are still looking for. And so I think that'll balance itself out. We went from a 87% occupancy summer in 2019 to running, 30% June, July, and August. So very, 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 very drastic. But what we realized that our pool experience, no matter how hot it was very, very busy. And we were still running the same revenues, even though we had reduced capacity in the hotel. So overall, I think that what we're looking at is kind of just a continuation of less demand that we're used to. I think it'll start to creep up as the weather continues to do well. But what we're seeing is that the people appreciate the protocols that are in place and ensuring the safety of our customers, of our staff. So that when they're on one of our properties, they realize that we've made the efforts to protect them.
Thank you, Ronan. Good information. Before we advance to our next speaker, I think this question that's popped up in the Q&A here is something that you and Joe can really chime in on. and I don't want it to get away from us. The question is, real estate agents are a great resource for sharing with locals about staycation deals, getting it out there. And it's a great chance for us to reach out with great info. What do they need to know about booking it as locals? Are there codes or specials info they need, where they need to go? How can they share that information?
Well, the best thing to do is we've got a pretty extensive marketing platform that we send out to our database. So you can always go on our website, hotelvalleyho.com, and sign up for our email newsletters that'll talk about local specials, programs that we have in the hotel, in the restaurant. So we have that. We do communicate through our social media platforms as well, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are great ways to see what's going on the resorts. One of the things that we did was, if you know our Valley Ho, we have our Showstopper Shakes, which is really fun, over-the-top milkshake. So we promote not only through our platform, but we partner every month with a different charity. November, it's the Ronald McDonald House Charities, where $1 for every shake goes back to the local charity, and then we take that charity, and then they promote the experience as well. But the best way to do is to somehow get into one of into our marketing database so we can send that information out. You can always reach out to me directly. We are just a mom and pop resort. We're locally owned, and I will take an email from anyone or a phone call from anyone if they want to come stay here. We'll take good care of you. If there is a way to get someone with your organization again in our database, you want to send that out, that's fine as well. We've got neighboring condo building and a residential apartment complex right next door to us, and so all of their members they get our distributions as well. They can walk across the street. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the information. There used to be a summer special that went out, I think around in May, where we all put it in the Arizona Republic, and it's okay for stay for $99 and get $100 resort credit. Well, those days are kind of gone. We kind of really use more of the digital marketing platforms now than some of the print collateral.
So quick question, what is your local website? Can you share that address with us, and we'll put it out there in the chat for everyone?
Sure. Ours is hotelvalleyho.com.
Perfect. So we're also putting your email address. Hope you don't mind sharing it with
Love
the
it.
group.
No,
that way they can reach
not.
out to you for those specials and make sure that they can get onto that list that you have. Same question for Joe. Joe, do you want to chime in on any of the deals and specials that you have going on? How can they get access to those discount codes?
Yeah, I mean, really the same thing Ronan said. For us, our website is the best way to do that. We have the We Love Locals rate, which starts at $89. And, through our website, if you go to thesaguaro.com and then choose Scottsdale, we have a Saguaro in Palm Springs as well. They're both kind of on the same website, but choose Scottsdale and go to specials, and you'll find the We Love Locals information, and you can click it directly through there. We do use a lot of the same social media platforms, as Ronan mentioned. Our direct email blast list for people who opt into that. So very similar, but I'd say the website is the best way to go. We Love Locals, and that's our rate.
Perfect. Well, we're putting that email address or the website address in the chat for everyone. So make sure to check that out and reach out to Joe or Ronan. We'll come back to you guys with a few more questions.
Susan, can I also weigh in on that as well?
Sure, go for it, Stephanie.
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone on the call to, use Experience Scottsdale as a resource. We have a great website with information on basically all of Scottsdale's offerings. We also have a special offers page. So that's always available. Usually our special offers are geared towards visitors, but right now they're mostly geared towards residents. We also have, right now we're in the midst of our Surprisingly Scottsdale campaign, which is actually targeted to Arizona residents. So if you go to surprisingly-scottsdale.com, it's a whole website that's really targeted towards residents. Our campaign for that ends next week, but if you look at our Instagram too, we've been doing weekly giveaways just for residents to kind of do overnight stays at our hotels and resorts and some of those attractions. So yeah, I just really encourage everyone to, use us as a resource. We're always happy to help plan those staycations.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. That's why we have you on the call today. We need this information. That we've posted that website address for the surprisingly Scottsdale.com in the chat. Make sure to reach out and take advantage of those. Stephanie, before we go, is there any special thing they need to know about navigating the website? Is it right up on top in front, or are there hidden pages we need to go travel to?
Well, when we do those campaigns, we have those dedicated URLs like surprisinglyscottsdale.com, but normally I just say go to experiencescottsdale.com. The navigation's pretty simple at the top. Just look at our drop down and you'll find some of those accommodations and special offers and things like that. So, but if anyone, ever runs into issues, we have our visitor center at experiencescottsdale.com email address. Give our staff a call. We're always happy to help.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so we are still wanting everybody to put questions into the Q&A for all of our speakers. But while I'm giving you time to think about what specific question you want to ask our speakers, let's go ahead and go to our next speaker that we have. And our next speaker that we have is Rob Millar. And Rob is the Director of Economic Development for the City of Scottsdale with over 12 years of economic development experience. Mr. Millar has been instrumental in driving significant economic development impact initiatives to the City of Scottsdale and has been active in the recruitment and expansion of some of Scottsdale's leading companies. Rob, we know that on the housing side of the real estate market, things have not been slowed down much at all by the pandemic. But can you share with us how Scottsdale has been doing on the economic development side? What's investment looking like in Scottsdale?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good.
Yes.
So I appreciate, I feel bad I don't have a hotel deal for you, but I'll come up with one maybe by the end of the
Maybe
the
a
session.
special for an investment, right?
Special, I got a special
credit.
deal. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. So let me give you kind of a broad stroke update on what we've been focusing on and what we're seeing on the local economy. We're not immune. We're not an island. So when I say local economy, you're probably going to see some similar trends at the national and international level. Past 7 months, we've been focusing heavily on supporting our local businesses. I mean, that has been part and parcel to what we've been doing to keep our small businesses and our local business community as healthy as we can. A variety of initiatives we've been focusing on. We've done a couple of grant programs. We're going to be unveiling some local training for small businesses and some consulting that we'll be rolling out here in the next couple of weeks, working with Local First, which is a great statewide organization. And we've been very fortunate to have use of CARES Act funds for some grants and some training that, we all know how important our business community is, not just to tourism, but to our economy, and to support, what we need to do currently and what we're focusing on moving forward. So that has really been a dramatic shift in what we have been doing. We've typically had a good balance between supporting local businesses to help them grow in Scottsdale and attracting new business from our target markets around the country and internationally. As you can imagine, the activity for companies that have considered expanding or relocating out of markets outside of Arizona has stalled dramatically over the past 7 months. And we're seeing that obviously throughout the region and the state. I will say over the past month or month and a half, companies are starting to re-engage. We've seen some activity. Companies that were close to that in April and paused in March so they can get a handle on what was happening. And there's always I'm an economic developer, and I have to be somewhat of a little ruthless when it comes to business. And so I have to look where are the opportunities in this. And there's always opportunities in any kind of crisis, and we have to find out what those are. And perhaps some of the most obvious ones are companies prior to the pandemic and talent, top talent that we need in our community prior to the pandemic were starting to migrate out of highly dense urban environments. We saw the trends there in Chicago and New York, and definitely in San Francisco. The pandemic has really furthered that, and so you're starting to see companies that have placed their footprint on the sublease market in large scale in Chicago and in New York, and now you can work and live anywhere in the world, and we've proven that, and still do your job. So prior, if you wanted to work for a large financial sector company in New York, you had to live in New York or in the suburbs someplace. And if you wanted to work for an insurance company in Chicago, you had to live there. And what this pandemic has proved to us is that we don't have to be in the office in order to do our job. I'll say that's good news and bad news. And there's a fine line between being an optimist and a realist. And I was, for the past few months, being an optimist, and unfortunately, I've had to accept, and this is difficult for me, in that this is not going to be a pandemic issue. This is a permanent issue. And that is, companies are going to decrease their footprints, in some cases, eliminate their footprints completely and go to a permanent remote model. I say that's challenging because we have to reinvent or figure out how do we adapt to that from an economic development perspective. There's things that happen on a secondary and third position in economic development when we get up in the morning and we go to work. There's things that happen versus staying and working from your home. And some of them are obvious. Dry cleaning, stopping at a Starbucks, going out for lunch, getting gas. I mean, these are things that, and there's a lot of other aspects of that. Real estate taxes, office use, and what comes from that is going to change. And the good news is that I think we're going to continue to be able to capitalize on our quality of life. And when we say, this is a place where you can live and work for a company over in Europe. You can live here and work for a company that is based out of Tel Aviv. That was part of our mantra prior to this, and it's going to be front and center to what we're focusing on now. I don't think all companies are going to go to a complete remote model. Some companies that makes sense for, and I'll say that's more from the tech side. I would say companies like, which are target markets for us, financial services, healthcare, other technology forms, are starting to see that, there's things that are lost when we're working remote. We're a relational business. And so companies that are here in Scottsdale, I'll give you an example. Axon, you probably saw, formerly known as Taser, was looking to move their headquarters out of Scottsdale. And for the past 3 years, we have been talking to them about their need to stay in Scottsdale. They had a very highly publicized relocation that they had announced for Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian community. We continued to speak with them and share the value prop for them, why they need to be located in Scottsdale. Long story short, they decided to stay in Scottsdale. The city entered into a development agreement. They purchased the land through state land, and they're going to build their state-of-the-art headquarters here in Scottsdale. And they intend to return to a complete working in the office environment when it's safe to do so. Nationwide, Southwest Regional Headquarters, which is across the corner from Axon on state land, also is finishing up their office complex and plans to fully engage their office there. And they have 134 acres that they're going to be developing. There are several other parcels of state land that are going to auction. One may be going this year, which is 64 acres at Hayden in the 101. We anticipate that will go to auction, and we anticipate that would be a highly competitive bidding process. And there's a few more state land parcels that we believe will go auction. So that speaks to that, there's still activity for businesses that are looking to enter into our market. There's still, I would say, competitive rates for what is the most expensive real estate in the state of Arizona, at about $660,000 an acre. That's expensive, right? I mean, but comparatively to what you would be spending for dirt on the East Coast or on the West Coast, it's a value. And so I think that's why you're going to continue to see companies leave the East Coast. I don't think I need to get in too much more or even say anything about how many companies are leaving California. That's a good thing. And so, that's just going to continue to grow. It's a hotbed for us. We continue to work with companies in the Bay Area to look at locating in Scottsdale. The downtown continues to be a place where tech companies want to be. We are one of the fastest growing tech communities in the state. We jump up into first and go to second only to Tempe, based on available real estate and what is happening with a tech movement in that area. So that clustering of technology, that clustering of insurance companies, that clustering of healthcare is going to be part and parcel. And finally, I just want to say that, we as a community and as an organization have economic development strategy. So we don't, while there's some of it that is reactionary, we are very deliberate in the markets that we focus on and the industries that we focus on. And that is a document and a policy that the city council adopts. We started to update that in January, not because we saw that a pandemic was coming, but because it was time for us to do so. Our current strategy was approaching 5 years. So we started that in January and been working with a consultant since that time to update that we will take to the city council after the first year when our new council is seated. So that will not only serve as our 3-year strategy, but it's also serving as our recovery plan. And there's things that are happening now that will probably be happening for 2 to 3 years, even as we emerge from the pandemic, that we're going to be critical that we adapt to and that we remain highly competitive. We will be a build out as far as large parcels of land, most likely 8 years from now, give or take a couple of years, depending on how the economy goes. And then we go into an extremely high redevelopment mode. And that is going to be a different focus. But for the next 3 years, we're going to focus on high growth within the state land area, redevelopment in the downtown and McDowell corridor, and then shift to a high redevelopment mode. So, we continue to adapt. We have to be nimble in this economy and seek out and aggressively go after opportunities that are out there. And so just know that we're focusing on that for you and look forward to continue to update you on our economic development strategic plan as we continue to develop that.
Thank you, Rob. I know our whole focus right now is what is the future going to bring. It's great to hear what your plan is. Question for you in regards to that plan. I know we've already identified several of the sectors that we already exist and have in place here in Scottsdale. But what do you have any new prospects or directions that you are targeting as far as industry sectors going forward into 2021? What can we help out with? What are those sectors that you're trying to target to help us get to where we want to go?
So I think that what we're looking at now is what is our current and what we believe is our future competitive position within our current sectors. There's two trains of thought. One is that we go after sectors that we're not as competitive in as we should be, or to really focus more on those that we have a real good niche in. Life sciences is tough for us. We don't have a real strong hold on life sciences, while as in healthcare, we do. And so technology, insurance, financial services are going to be our strong points. Healthcare is we're going to do some things in Canada. Start hopefully in the spring. We have to get to a point where it's safe to do some marketing in Canada, but there is a tremendous backlog of non-essential surgeries and procedures, with having socialized healthcare, and that there's already a backlog of up to about 2 years prior to the pandemic. The pandemic has escalated that even more. And as we all know, Canada is one of our best locations for investment. And so we are going to be working with Experience Scottsdale and our largest healthcare providers to do some very targeted and collaborative marketing in Canada that says, come to Scottsdale for your elective procedures and recover here and stay here and be a part of a healthy environment. And the good news is that Canadians will pay cash for those procedures, and they need them. It feels a little disingenuous to say elective when someone is in a lot of pain trying to get a knee or a hip or something, but that is considered elective, and they may be, they need to get that done, and we want them to do that here and be a part of our economy. So yeah, I know that helps with housing, because some people may, whether here, do a long stay and rent a home or purchase a home because they just want to come back and be a seasonal visitor. So we appreciate all of your work and in collaboration, and we'll keep you posted on any trends that we can collaborate on.
That sounds great. Along those lines, and maybe this is a trade secret, I don't know, is how do you reach out? What is your network for trying to reach out, say, to international clientele and markets, to let them know of sectors that you're trying to invite to Scottsdale? Is there a specific go-to, or is it just an ad campaign? How do you go about that?
It really depends. I wish there was a manual we could pull out, but it's, a lot of it is old fashioned, boots on the ground and doing messaging in our target markets. But, while we're open to most industries and look at all markets around the country, we do hone in, and we're doing some checks to see if we should continue on these particular sectors and markets. But we do focus and do targeted messaging in New York and Chicago and the Bay Area, and a little bit in Los Angeles, because that's where we have seen a lot of movement. And some of it it makes a lot of sense, because tourism has paved a lot of ground for us in those markets. People know Scottsdale as being a tourist destination, and now we're coming in and saying, you know us as a place to come and recreate into vacation, but did you know you can grow your career and your business here as well? And so there's a lot of synergy there with tourism, and we work with site selectors, commercial brokers. Prior to the pandemic, we go into those markets 3 or 4 times a year and just continue to stay top of mind, meet with companies. A lot of times companies that we meet with aren't planning on relocating or expanding, but we know that at some point they will, and that relationship development starts years before that, and we continue to build upon that. Yeah, we did have a market visit and went with some state legislators and Arizona Commerce Authority to Israel last November, which is phenomenal for venture capital. They have more venture capital in Tel Aviv than it's double the venture capital in Tel Aviv than the United States as a whole. And they have no market for their product once they develop it. And so everybody that develops technology, new company in Tel Aviv and throughout Israel needs to get out, because there's not a market for their product there. And so we know there's a lot of opportunity there, develop relationships, but almost 100% startups. And so we don't know which one of those startups are going to be successful, but it's kind of like a small cap stock. You want to get in early on that, because they'll grow in your community. So it just really depends. We get tips just like everybody else. We heard, hey, we heard such and such company is thinking about locating. We pay for a lot of interesting databases to try and get a sense of what leases are going to be expiring. Sometimes we go on hunches, and so it really. We're a sales-oriented team. There's 6 of us, and we're constantly, out there, digging up stuff to find out, what makes sense, and do a lot of investigating.
Thank you, Rob. Great information, which plays into a lot of what we do with real estate agents, practitioners. It's the relationship building, how we connect our networks to get our buyers and sellers in direct contact, or get the correct information that they need for the area they're wanting to relocate to, and vice versa. Educating our members on what are you targeting, what are you looking for, that we can help share that message with those clients in those other locations. So great information. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go back and reminder to everybody, post your questions in the Q&A. I'm looking at them right now. I have one question, and I have one question that's come up, and I'm just going to read it off for everyone. And I think this is more geared towards our hoteliers, so that if Joe and Ronan would like to answer and weigh in on this. This is a time a lot of agents are reaching out to past clients, talking about the market, prices, etc. But with the holidays, a lot of gift cards are sent out. Are there any discounts available to local agents to gift to clients, both local and out of state? Many of mine, this is coming from Dina, many of mine are in California and have a second home here, and get people out to our local hotels and restaurants.
I can go ahead and start with that. The answer is absolutely. Anytime we can, help, families coming to town, we're actually in the process of developing a package. It's a family package exactly for that. So if you live here and your family members are coming in from out of town, you don't want them staying in your home for various reasons, COVID or whatever. We are actually extending the locals package to those people that are from out of town, and also providing dining options for them at the hotel. So that will be on our special section of our website as well, and it should be out very, very soon. So it's a great question. We want to encourage safety. Again, it kind of goes along the lines with that as well, and keeping everybody distanced and providing a safe place for them to stay.
Thanks, you, Joe. Ronan, do you have any?
Yeah, a couple things. One, Suzanne, I will email you what we call our neighbor discount, which is basically between now and I think the middle of January, outside of New Year's Eve, $159 for Sunday through Thursday and $199 on the weekends. For anyone that has an Arizona ID, you can get at Valley Ho. We ask you. There's a code, you can book it on the website directly, and just show an ID at check-in. And then we do every year a gift card promotion as well, where if you're asking about buy gift cards for family and friends staying from out of town, yes, we do a certain amount of spend and you get, I think, 20% back. So that'll go out on our one of our next email distributions. So again, Suzanne, if you want to distribute that information, if you want us to put your whole organization or select few, if they reach out to you directly, we can put them in our email distribution platform, and it's very easy to do. And then if you look at the picture behind me, we've got a condo tower that's the only new build part of Valley Ho. When we reopened the property in 2005, we built a condo building, and so floors 3 through 6 are basically a residential product that serves as a hotel. So you've got 1 and 2 bedroom units there, 2-story lofts that we rent out as hotel rooms, which are great for families over the holidays. Thanksgiving week it's a super busy week for us, where you see a lot of families coming in from out of town from climates that are not so warm, and they love to have Thanksgiving in a resort versus in someone's house. I think we are going to see that moving forward. People that typically will host big events in their homes, and families will want to figure out a way to kind of get them out of their house. So we've got a huge Thanksgiving program, not only in the restaurant, but also a to-go program as well, where you can purchase the meals, and whether it's a cooked turkey or just prepared and ready to go with all the fixings, all those stuff are available to locals to swing by and pick up. So again, the best way to do it is to email me directly. I don't care how many emails I get, I will respond to you. right away, and happy to take care of our locals first. Those are the people that support us. Like I said, we're locally owned, and we want to take care of the community that supports us. So stay tuned for the gift card specific. That promotion will come out shortly. But Suzanne, today I'll get you the information on the neighborhood discount, and you can share that amongst your community there.
Excellent. That's great news, and we're very happy to share that information with all our attendees here, and also to spread the word with the rest of our membership. Let's get some visitors into your hotel rooms.
Thank you.
Next question. I have this one for Joe. I think Joe, you might be able to answer this one. This is my personal question. Is since you have locations in Palm Springs and here in Scottsdale, are there any differences that you're having to deal with between the two separate markets? Because we know the stay-at-home orders, the reopen orders, the guidelines that are requirements that are required between different states. We're hearing how much of those are different. What are you experiencing? What are some of those differences that you're seeing in your hotels?
That's a great question. You know, it's actually really interesting because California in general, Palm Springs, you know, their rules change constantly. They go from, you know, freeing a few things up to all of a sudden closing a few things down. And, you know, where we differ is they struggle with the changes that come their way almost on a weekly basis in regard to COVID and what they can do. You know, Palm Springs sees a lot of weekend business from people in LA, and it's the LA crowd that goes and they want to hang out in Palm Springs, they want to do the pool, and they want to just enjoy the weekends. So, you know, the way they manage that is very different than Scottsdale. Here we have a lot more flexibility. I think people in Southern California also realize that where they can come to Scottsdale and experience more dining options, more outdoor activities, less restrictions when it comes to pools and restaurants. So I think we have an advantage over Palm Springs with that and the restrictions they have. But you know, again, they change constantly, and it's been a challenge for them to manage through that.
I bet, but it's good to hear that we have. I guess that's kind of the good and bad. We have less restrictions here in Scottsdale, so can be an incentive to invite those clients. But of course, we're still concerned about making sure everybody stays safe and healthy. So it's been great to hear both you and Ronan share what those guidelines, what you're able to do. Are you able to maybe give us kind of an overview of if I was a client showing up at your hotel, what would be some of the expectations that I'm going to be met with upon walking in the front door? What does that environment look like?
No, that's great. You know, when we, you know, we require everyone to wear masks at the hotel, our guests included. So when a guest, before they even come to the front door, there's signage instructing them they have to wear a mask. If someone doesn't have a mask, we provide those at the front desk for them. But we do temperature checks on everybody. We have facial scanners that record everyone's temperature. So the minute they come to the front door, go to the front desk, record your temperature. And then we have a series of questions we ask them. And, you know, if they answer yes to any of them, then, you know, we have to kind of explore a little further. But, and then once you check into the hotel, you get to your room, you'll see a seal on your door. And that seal essentially means that that room has gone through a very thorough cleaning process. And the final process in that is an electrostatic sprayer that sprays a mist that completely ensures a room is clean. So if that seal is broken, that means somebody went in there. But when you get to your room, that seal is right there, and you're the first person to open it since it's been completely gone through and cleaned thoroughly. So the other thing is after you check in and you go to the pool, you'll find signage everywhere. Masks are still required in the pool area, Certainly if someone is enjoying a cocktail or eating, no, that's not required. But we don't allow groups of more than up to 10 people to conglomerate at the pool, and we have all the chairs socially distanced 6 feet apart in groups of 2. So we're very fortunate. I think Ronan is in the same situation. We have very big, wide open pool spaces, so we really have the ability to let people enjoy themselves, but provide the distance that they need at the same time. Our fitness center, we don't allow more than 6 people in there at a time. It's a fairly large fitness center, and and what I've really been encouraged is that I haven't, all of our guests are more than happy to comply with all these safety precautions that we have in place. No one has had a problem at all with anything we ask of them, and everyone has a mask. They bring their own mask. We've only had to give out a couple, so everyone's pretty responsible when it comes to safety. But again, it's all about how do we make people feel that they are safe, and we've done everything possible according to the CDC guidelines to ensure that. And I think as I talk to people around property, they all feel like that's been accomplished.
Excellent, Joe. It's great to hear those safety protocols. Kind of gives us that reassurance that I can get out and I can do it safely. Ronan, do you have something similar as far as what is your experience walking into the Valley Ho?
Yep, very, very similar to what Joe was saying. You're initially greeted with a sign that says, please, you got to wear a mask while on property. The only times you're not is when you're eating, you're drinking, or you're laying at your beach chair. But if you're walking around the pool, you got to put a mask on. Walking in the public areas, you have to wear a mask on the elevator, etc. The other thing that I think that the industry is seeing is 2 things. One, there's an increased cost related to PPE and kind of sanitation. So the electrostatic machines that Joe's talking about, they can range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a machine. They're hard to get, and we've got multiple on here at property, so we use them for the guest rooms, the restaurant, the meeting space, that kind of stuff. So there's extra labor and costs associated with that, and that's just part of what's going to be around for a while, potentially forever. And then the other one is that kind of contactless experiences throughout the resort. So whether it's the room service menu is no longer in your room; it's basically a QR reader that you scan it with your phone, and your room service menu comes up. So same thing in the restaurant. We do have basically all of our menus right now are disposable. It's a shame because we just relaunched Zuzu in the fall last year, brand new menu, and then we kind of went to disposable menus. And also on each table there's a QR reader code that you can click on the menu from that perspective. And then we don't clean the guest rooms. You have to be staying with us more than 3 nights before housekeeping will enter your room. You can obviously get fresh towels and amenities, etc. Any requests, but we try not to clean the rooms when they're occupied. So the goal is to really just upon arrival, like Joe said, you arrive to a room that has been thoroughly cleaned and sanitized, and generally you don't have a housekeeping come in your room until you've checked out, and that's just to keep everyone safe and mitigate any sort of potential exposure to the virus. And that's really it. I mean, other than that, outdoor space is great, but again, if you're eating and you're drinking, you don't need to wear a mask. Other than that, you wear it from your guest room or anywhere else on the property, and we're very specific about that. Every guest upon arrival gets a letter that talks about the hours of operation, the housekeeping service. It talks about the fitness center capacity. We ask guests if they can to sign up for a 1-hour time frame in the fitness center. It's still only at 25% capacity right now. So that's where we are. So we allow 12 people into the fitness center at one time. But again, as Joe mentioned, there really haven't been any complaints. You'll get an occasional person that's just not comfortable with it. But overall, a lot of our social media responses are stuff, feedback we get on TripAdvisor or through our customer survey is that they very much appreciate it and they feel very safe.
Perfect. Thank you, Ronan. I do have another question that's popped up in the Q&A. This one's actually for Rob. Rob, do you foresee the city looking at zoning changes that would allow for commercial sectors to repurpose commercial properties to residential housing?
I mean, not that I'm aware of. We want to make sure that we have a good balance between commercial and residential, and we have a general plan that that the council votes on every year that looks at the zoning categories and the general, making sure the general plan is guiding land use. And so I think that's always a possibility. It's on a case-by-case basis. Property owners can always request that their property be rezoned, and that but really, again, it's a case-by-case basis, depends on the request, but the council ultimately makes that. But from an economic development side of things, there really does need to be that balance, because there's revenue that comes from commercial development that helps us from the residential side, and vice versa. But we certainly don't want to lose that revenue that comes in from the business side of things by taking away too much land for business. So I guess the answer is it could be, but nothing in the works at this point.
Thank you, Rob. How much of, along the lines of that question, just for the awareness of the audience, how much of a role does the economic development department play in with planning and zoning for the city? Are you kind of an auxiliary part, or are you more of a hands-on, in-depth part of that discussion?
So, I'll go back to my analogy before that we're a sales team. So, basically, we're out there, looking for leads and trying to, to convert them and land them in Scottsdale. So throughout that process, if we're trying to bring a company in to locate in Scottsdale, we're looking for land for them, or we're looking for a building. We're looking at they look at things like housing, what type of housing is available for our employees if we relocate, or what kind of talent's available. So depending on what they do, if there's TIs, if they're doing a build-to-suit, we act as a facilitator through the planning process as well, because if we can't get them what they need through the planning process, then we really aren't going to be able to locate them and finalize the deal. So there's a lot of interface with planning. I say it's a dynamic tension, because we're selling, and then we have to be able to deliver with our colleagues downstairs. And so, sometimes we have to, really, be creative on how we're going to get to where we need. But yeah, it's critical, because at the end of the day, if they can't get what they need from an operations standpoint, then, we could be the best sales team in the world, but if we can't deliver, then we haven't done what we need to get done.
Right. One other follow-up question for you, Rob, from the Q&A. With Scottsdale Economic Development, do you and your group start the process and continue the process, or do they work with organizations like GPEC, Greater Phoenix Economic Development, or the Canadian Arizona Business Council?
It depends. So we work with, and we love Glenn, and we do a lot of work with the Canadian Council. We get leads from a variety of different places, whether it's GPEC, the Arizona Commerce Authority, through some of our organizations that we're partners with. And a lot of times probably 70% of our leads we generate on our own. So, but if we work with one of our partner agencies and it comes in through that relationship, then typically we'll collaborate. But if GPEC brings a lead into the region and we compete for that and become a finalist, then we own that at that point. We try and convert that through our process. But there's a lot of interface with the state and GPEC, because again, somebody says, I want to be in Phoenix. They may not know there's 22 cities. And they may not know when they drive 20 minutes, they've gone through 5 of them. And so that's, we have to continue to be competitive. All of our cities we love, some less than others. I'm kidding. I love all the cities, but there are competitors. We're friendly competitors. We want to win, and we also cheer on other cities when they do locate a company, because with high tide, all boats rise, and we want to be known as an attractive place for business as a region, as a state. And so we win some and we lose some.
I hear you on that. Another follow-up question. How often does the lack of housing impact your ability to sell, to get those clients in? Do you see any impact on that?
At times I'll hear some feedback on that, but I can tell you, and I can't think of a time when a company has said, we decided not to expand or to locate in your community because of housing. sometimes what we'll hear is the word affordable, is a detriment. But one of our biggest local competitors is Gilbert, and Gilbert housing, used to be a lot less than, and you all know this, less than Scottsdale, but I don't think there's much of a gap there as there used to be. So, but then we have companies that say they ask us for housing that is between 600,000 and say 3 million. Give us that range because they have that range of executive housing, or executives are relocating. So I don't think it's a factor right now because we continue to see more multifamily come on board. We continue to see more single family, the drive corridor typically is about a 20-minute drive. So depending on where you're at in Scottsdale, whether you're in the Air Park or northern Scottsdale, and when I say northern, really that stops about the state land at Hayden 101 for business, because most things of that are residential north of there. So when they ask us to do an employment search for their particular employment, the drive shed on that is typically 20 to 25 minutes. So that is very competitive to other regions. Depending where you're in California or the East Coast, could be a 45-minute, 50-minute commute. So 20 minutes is, we all know, you don't have to live necessarily in Scottsdale. We want them to. That's a win-win. But if we can only get one, meaning they have their business here and they have to locate in North Phoenix or Tempe or Chandler, that's still good for the city.
Right. Another question popped up for you, Rob. Do you have a plan for encouraging tech startup companies to come to Scottsdale?
So we do. That's in our current strategy that we have, and we are recruiting for a person that focuses on attraction. And tech is one of the biggest points for us to focus on. So that's part of our current strategy, and that continues, and it will be in our new strategy to some extent. But part of that plan is we work with entrepreneurial organizations locally and even at the state level. We actually are penetrating organizations within the Bay Area. So we join these organizations. We're constantly going to events and meeting entrepreneurs. As I mentioned, over in Israel, that is a hotbed for us because of tech. So the tech is probably that has the highest growth potential, and startups and entrepreneurial. It's also the hardest because you could be starting a tech company in your house and be working on that with a very small team for years. And so if you're not coming out and you're not engaging in the tech world, it's really hard for us to find you. So we also work quite a bit with SkySong because they have a global accelerator program there where they'll bring in companies. You can be a startup and work within the tech global accelerator. Sorry, they've had somebody come in with 2 people. And eventually 3 or 4 years down the road, take down an entire floor because they've grown that much. So those are the ones where we want to develop the relationships early on and help them as best as we can to make those connections and grow. So we definitely have a strategy for that and implement it on a regular basis.
Excellent. Last question for me. What have you seen? What's the biggest ask from companies that are reaching out to you that they're looking for? Is it changes in space size? What's the biggest ask or industry sectors that you're hearing from right now?
It's by far talent. The olden days, which was probably 8 years ago, is that the model that was institutional was when you graduated from college, the first thing you said to your parents or your buddies or friends is, "Hey, where are you going to go?" "Well, I'm trying to get a job with such and such company, so I got to move to wherever it is." Right? And so companies would just locate based on cost of real estate, incentives, cost of operating, and now companies almost entirely locate based on access to talent. So companies are chasing talent. And so you graduate from college, if you're in one of the sectors, the top talent, we're hearing it over and over and over. I want to go live someplace cool. And so you see cities like Nashville, Austin, Boulder, I can go on and on and on. And thank goodness Scottsdale is still considered a cool place to live. And so we have that. And then so the companies, when they come to and evaluate our market, they ask us first, do you have the talent we need in order to operate and be successful? Once we address that and assure them that we do, then they ask us about available real estate, cost of operating, taxes, incentives, those types of things. But if we don't get past the talent piece, the conversation is pretty short.
Well, thank you for that information. Great to know. I now have a follow-up question for Stephanie. I want to flip things back over to the tourism side of stuff. Stephanie, my question I have for you is, we know the big thing for tourism and attraction is our events, what's going on. Can you tell us, kind of give us an overview, or what are some of the upcoming big attraction events that we typically have going into 2021? I want to just look forward to 2021 and see what is going on. What can we help to market or look forward to, even if we're having to do it at reduced capacities and safety standard protocols? What is going to be taking place in Scottsdale? Can you share that?
Absolutely. Actually, this is a rather easy question for me to answer because I organized a webinar yesterday with all of our major event partners. And so I was actually learning along with all of our members that attended about what's going to be happening with our events. What we know is a lot of our events are planning to move forward. They're coming up with those contingency plans for in case, things go wrong after the holidays. But, next in 2 weeks, actually, we have our first major event, Canal Convergence, which is really our art event in downtown. And they're really doing things in different ways. They're spreading out the artwork so that people can kind of go about and explore it at their leisure. Instead of doing like a beer garden, they're partnering with local restaurants and encouraging people who are going to explore their artwork to really go out into the local restaurants and support those businesses. From there, we will have the Fiesta Bowl and Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which the college bowl games, they're not played in Scottsdale, but we actually have a unique partnership with the Fiesta Bowl organization where all of the teams and affiliate groups stay in Scottsdale area hotels and resorts. And so they're planning to move forward with both of those games, but a lot of what the changes taking place will depend on what the teams are comfortable with, what the college association is comfortable with. So they're kind of still waiting to see, but they do expect that fans will want to come out here. They will have that probably reduced capacity for the games themselves. Then we'll have Barrett Jackson. Barrett Jackson actually just hosted their fall auction in Scottsdale. It's normally held in other parts of the country, but they really wanted to do a smaller scale auction to prove that they can do their bigger event in Scottsdale in January. And it went really well. They had people spaced out. Everyone was wearing masks. And so they're looking to see if they can maybe grow their size a bit for their Scottsdale event, but still keeping all of those safety protocols in place, temperature checks and things like that, spacing people out in pods. They were only allowing qualified bidders into the event and one guest. So it's not going to be quite the lifestyle event that it normally is. But the same probably goes for the Phoenix Open, really one of our most attended events in Scottsdale. They're looking at what their capacity will be. They know they're not going to be able to have the 16th hole with all of those thousands of people packed together. So it'll be a very different event, but they're looking about ways to go about it safely. We also have the Arabian Horse Show, and then, Cactus League spring training. The Giants are anxious to come back because their, last season was canceled mid-season, and I know that's something that's been felt by Ronan and Joe's properties as well. But they're kind of looking to see how all these other events go, and they're just waiting now that the World Series is over. They can maybe really start looking more at spring training. So we know they're planning to move forward, but they're really looking at all those contingencies to just do it as safely as possible.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear, because as you know, visitors come, they want something to do. They want to engage with all of these key signature events that we have typically put on. It's nice to hear that they are able to move forward and they're not being canceled and pushed out once again and again. Kind of a follow-up question to maybe you have the answer to this is, do you track or have any idea of the numbers of Canadians or international visitors that not only have been enjoying, but maybe you can expect to continue to engage in these events going forward?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. All of our visitation data comes from the city of Scottsdale, and really just in general, international visitation data is harder to track. So we really get this big comprehensive study about our US visitors, who they are, where they're coming from. But with our international data, we really rely on this company called VisaView. And so they only are able to track Visa card spending. And so it's really not, it's not encompassing of all of our international visitors. So we know Canadians are really our most important international visitors. We know they love Scottsdale, we love them. So I can't say for sure, what we can expect with that, but we hope that they're able to come down again soon.
Well, hopefully with the information you were able to share on the call today, all of our Canadians that are in attendance, they'll be able to spread the word, and we'll get all those visitors back here, especially as our borders start reopening and everybody's getting back to traveling in 2021. We definitely look forward to that. Thank you, Stephanie. Well, I want to move on a little bit here. I'm not seeing any other questions coming up, so I think we can advance our program. It has no doubt been a year we will never forget in so many ways. We had originally planned for this to be a live in-person event, and one of the activities all of our visitors and attendees would have been able to experience was a guided walking tour of our historical Old Town Scottsdale. Though we cannot do this in person this year, we did arrange for a film to do a brief film guided tour given by one of our Global Council members and past president of SAR, Becca Linnig. I want to share this video with you and hope you enjoy a taste of Scottsdale.
Hi, I'm Becca Linnig, longtime resident of Scottsdale, and I am in the Scottsdale Civic Center Park in front of the Center for Performing Arts. That was converted and built by the renowned artist and architect Benny Gonzalez back in the mid-90s. We in Scottsdale have only been around since 1951. If you can imagine, that's not very long. We were about 2,000 residents strong in 1951, and today you'll find almost 260,000 people. Standing here in Civic Center Mall, I want to take you back to the late 1800s where our founding fathers planted several citrus trees. We were very well known at the time for our citrus groves, and our original name before being officially a city in 1951 was Orangedale, and that was due to the large number of citrus trees in our area. Sitting here on the corner of Scottsdale Road and Main, it's at the edge of our historic district in downtown Scottsdale. Who better to greet you than Cowboy Joe behind me? He's one of 15 signs that used to be used as a directional sign for you to know how long it would take for you to get into Scottsdale. We had Cowboy Joes on either end of town directing you in to see our beautiful city.
Well, that is our brief little tour of downtown old historical Scottsdale. That hope you all were able to enjoy that, even though you were not able to travel and share in it with us in person. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in 2021 when we host our next global trade mission. We know that's going to be happening. I want to go on, and I want to thank all of our speakers and everyone who was able to join us today. Thank you especially to all of our marketing partners, CREA Global, RBC Bank, American Title, and Inspect It First. Thank you for supporting us. And I want to encourage everybody, please join us tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for day 4 of our global adventure. We'll have an opportunity to hear from Doug Brunke, the CEO and founder of the Global Chamber in Arizona, and Cameron Robb, the Senior Director of Business Development for the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. We also have some special virtual property tours to share, and we hope to see you all then.